Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on how to fold an origami water bomb base. Before we get started, let's take a look at one. This is a water bomb. Basically, it's a origami cube, but the reason they call it a water bomb is, believe it or not, there is a little hole on the top right here that you can actually add water to this cube, and it will hold water. It's not going to hold it forever, obviously, but it'll definitely hold it long enough that you can throw it at someone or something, just like you would a water balloon. And a lot of times children will do this, or even adults. They'll fill this full of water and throw it at a friend. And unlike a water balloon, this is just paper, so it kind of just squishes when it hits whatever it's thrown at. And depending on the dye or the ink that's used to color the origami paper, it can leave some pretty interesting colored patterns on whatever you throw it at. So don't throw it at a white wall filled with water, because you might end up with stained white wall afterwards. So anyway, this is a water bomb. It is one of the first origamis that's typically taught to people. And it comes from a water bomb base. So let's take a look at how this is folded. Alright, so here's a water bomb base that I had from a previous video. And remember, a water bomb base is just an inside-out preliminary base, and it's a triangle when it's finished. So the way we're going to fold this water bomb is we're going to start with the water bomb base with the triangle tip pointing away from us. I'm going to fold the right point up to the top so that this edge of the paper lines up right on this valley fold. And I'm going to do this with all 4 tips. Make sure you crease. So I just did the right side on the top. I'm going to do the left side on the top. As you can see, I've got with the cheap paper here, I have a little problem with the fold, so you can kind of stick your finger in there to squish it out. Alright, so I creased both. They're lined up nicely. Now I flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to take my tip here and fold it up to the top. For the most part, the water bomb is a pretty easy origami to fold. There's one section of this, this origami water bomb, that is a little challenging, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Alright, so now I'm done. But what I want to do is, as you can see, these tips are sticking up here. I want the open part, we call this the open part right here, where all these points are spread apart. I want that facing me when I'm doing this for the rest of it, as opposed to facing away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, again, my right tip, and I'm going to fold it, instead of the top, I'm going to fold it straight in so it just touches this line right here. Now, the fold that we create, which is going to be right around here, across this piece of paper, needs to be parallel to this line. If it's off, it's going to create problems for us. So we want to make sure it's perfectly parallel, the fold to the line in the center. So in other words, I want to fold this straight in. So if you want to rotate it, you can. It's up to you. But whatever it takes so that this fold here is parallel to that line. So once we're done folding it, we can take a look and make sure that it's pretty straight. That doesn't look that bad. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing on the left side. I'm going to fold the tip. Now I have a reference. I can fold it right to the other tip. Make sure that we have a good crease here. And we're a little off, so let me adjust that just a little bit. Alright, so we still have the open edge pointing down toward us, and now we have those 2 tips touching right on the center line. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Folding the points into the center, making sure they touch each other, making sure the front and the back line up. And they do. As we can see, all the folds are pretty much even with each other. And again, I have the part with all the open flaps facing toward me. All right, now this step is not one that's typically done when folding a water bomb base. It's a step that I added that just makes the folding a little bit easier, especially I find when I'm teaching younger children how to do this. It really helps them quite a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these little flaps down here. So let's take the one on the right first. And what I want to do is I want to create a fold that's a valley fold that's right on this line right here. So to do that, I'm just going to pull this out and put some pressure on it so that it folds. And again, I'm going to crease it. So it folds right on, as you can see, I now have a valley fold right where this line is, so this edge of this piece of paper. All right, so I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the remaining 3 tips. I have 1 on this side and 2 on the other side. So I'm going to pull it straight out. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing with these 2. Straight out. And make sure that this fold is right on the edge of this piece of paper. Don't have it on any other different angle. And you can tell that it's okay because this piece matches with the piece on the bottom. And the same thing on the left side. Alright, so once we're done, we kind of have this flower looking thing. I'm going to unfold, or back to where they were, all those pieces I just folded. So now I have these 4 valley folds. They're actually going to help me with probably the most difficult part of this origami. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these 4 tips again. This time I'm going to take the tip of this flap right here and I'm going to fold it up so it meets these 2 tips that are already touching. So I'm just going to fold it straight up so that it folds and touches those 2 tips, and crease. Make sure you crease everything. Same thing with this one. I'm going to fold this straight up until it, so now we have 4 points meeting right in the center of this. And again, crease, turn it over, fold it up, make sure it's nice and straight, and fold the left side up. So now I have all 4 of these looking exactly the same. Good. Now for the most difficult part of this fold. What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it sideways like this, and I'm going to take this flap that I folded in the beginning, open it up a little bit. And on the side here, I can actually stick my finger in. It's almost like it's, try my little finger, it's not cooperating here. It's almost like there's a little cave there. So this was flat, and I'm kind of opening it up. So we have a little teeny cave. And what I'm going to do is I want to fold this piece right here into the cave. So I'm going to take the tip of that and I'm going to push it in to the cave and keep pushing it and pushing down until the entire thing is inside that cave. So notice there's nothing hanging out, it's very clean, it's all inside there. You might have to fiddle with it a little bit. So again, this side, I'm going to take and open up the little cave, and I'm going to fold that tip inside. So it's nice and clean. Let's see if on the other side, let's see if I can actually make a mistake so you can see what it looks like. So common mistakes are this. They have the cave and then they just kind of stuff this tip in like this, and they have a big mess hanging out. So what you want to do is make sure you fold it in. That's why we made these valley folds here. You want to fold the whole thing inside that little cave on all 4 of them. And again, depending on the type of paper you're using, if it's just printer paper or cheap origami paper, it's going to be a little more challenging. That's why good origami paper is expensive. It's much easier to fold. It holds the creases for the most part, depending on the type of origami paper, much better. Everything is just much cleaner. It's perfectly cut, perfectly square, so you don't have to worry about things not lining up. All right, so now we have almost the end product. As you can see, this is our completed water bomb. So basically we need to make this into this. And the way we do that is we want to put, to help us make our cube, we want to put a crease from this point to this point, and we want to put a crease from this point to this point. To do that, we're just going to fold this tip down to these, and this tip up to these, to make a perfect square. Alright, so we have a perfect square. Then we're going to unfold them, flip it over, and fold them the other direction. So what we're doing is we're making a nice crease that we can easily expand this on. So we have our cube. Alright, and then once again we unfold them. So now we have that same shape we had before, but as you can see we have two really strong creases there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to make it into an X, like that. One end is going to be just paper. The other end is going to actually have a hole. So what we want to do is, without slobbering on this, I want to put my mouth either on it or really close to it and blow out as hard as possible. And when I do that, it's going to kind of open up. And once it does, we can actually use our fingers to redo some of these creases that we had. And there we have an origami water bomb. See you in a future video. Good luck folding.